Meanwhile, Commander Anil Jay Singh, Navy expert, is also joining us live for more. Sir, these articles by the Sunday Guardian show the extent of damage, incurred by the Pakistani Navy as well as the Air Force after Operation Sindoor. And not just Operation Sindoor, Pakistan's Navy currently, 3 of 5 Agosta submarines are currently out of commission. Meanwhile, the Hangor submarine that Pakistan sees as its support are also facing delays. So how do you view the current state of the Pakistani Navy?
So the Pakistani Navy has never really been a Navy which can challenge the Indian Navy. It has been a Navy which believes in what we call a sea denial strategy. In other words, their endeavor is that they would deny the sea to the enemy rather than control the sea from the enemy. So that's the difference between sea control, which India follows with the Blue Water Navy, and sea denial, which Pakistan follows. So sea denial automatically suggests that the best way to deny the sea to the enemy is by your submarines, because if you have submarines operating in an area, the Navy would be hesitant to come into that particular area, and also the submarines have the advantage of stealth. So Pakistan has always focused, if you see over the years, on a very potent, small but potent submarine arm. While its surface navy has been, they've taken leads on ships on second-hand leads from countries and all, and never really focused on their surface navy as a war-winning strategy. But sea denial has been their basic aim. So Pakistan got 2 Agosta submarines way back in the late 70s. Those were called the Agosta 70. And then they got 3 more Agosta submarines in the late 90s, early 2000s, which were called the Agosta 90B. The third Agosta 90B was built in Pakistan, and it had what is called the Air Independent Propulsion System. Now, subsequently thereafter, when these submarines became due for their major refits and overhauls, they were sent not to France, which was the original country they came from, but they were sent to Turkey, because the Turkish company was able to undertake these repairs for them, perhaps at a cheaper cost or whatever may have been the reason. So all the 3 Pakistani submarines were extensively overhauled and refitted in Turkey in the last 5 or 6 years. And all the 3 submarines were now fitted with the air-independent propulsion system called the MESMA system, which has been developed by France. And there are only 3 MESMA systems in service in the whole world, and only on the Pakistani navies. No other navy has chosen the MESMA system. Now, when you come to what was the availability of the Pakistani Navy during Operation Sindoor, now if you take these 2 Agosta class, the Agosta 70s, they are all now almost 45 years old, 40 to 45, 50 years old. So obviously they would not be in the most optimal operational condition to go, fight a war. Perhaps they're being used for training and limited deployment, limited operational deployment. Whereas the Agosta 90B are their more potent force. Now, when you say there were only 2 available and 3 were in dock, this is not unusual. In any case, when submarines are being operated, we generally operate on an assumption that 60% of our submarine force will be available at any time. So instead of 2 out of 5, Pakistan would have had 3 out of 5. Now, submarines have to routinely go in for refits and repairs. Now, firstly, I think this whole Op Sindoor was not something that had been pre-planned by Pakistan over a long period of time, like you prepare for war. So you get your ships ready in time, you get your ships, prepared, you finish off refits quickly, you arm them better. This was a more, I think, a quicker sort of operation. It was done on the spur of the moment. And so there wasn't enough time probably to pull those submarines out of refit and into operations. Had the war probably continued, had it escalated, and had it been a long protracted war, these submarines would also have been pulled out of the refits and sent to sea. So 2 out of 5 is not unusual. It could have been better. Perhaps, submarines have various types of refits. They have short refits, they have long refits, they have, medium refits. So it depends on how long the submarine has gone into refit for. So Pakistan obviously was not at its optimal naval capability during Op Sindoor. In any case, even if it were, and this is what I would like to emphasize, even if it were, it is no match for the Indian Navy. As far as the Hangor class goes, there are 8 Hangor class AIP submarines which China is supposed to provide to Pakistan. 4 are being built in China and 4 are going to be built in Pakistan, or are being built in Pakistan. Now these submarines, I think, were supposed to start entering service from 2024, but they've got delayed. Now I think they probably will start entering from maybe end of this year or 2026, because whenever a new class of submarine comes, it takes time for it to settle down, conduct sea trials, etc., etc. But I believe there is some issue with the engines for these submarines, because initially China was supplying submarines, many years ago with German engines, but Germany has stopped all defense export to China. Absolutely zero defense export to China and Pakistan. So now China is offering these submarines with Chinese engines, which Pakistan is, I understand, not too happy about. Thailand also was going to buy submarines from China, but because the Chinese said we can't give you German engines and we'll give you Chinese engines, Thailand cancelled that contract. So that is a sort of, I think there's a little bit of doubt on the reliability of Chinese cutting-edge equipment. China has also given 4 frigates to Pakistan, the Type 052, which have been operational for a few years, but reports have periodically surfaced that there are certain issues with their engines, etc. also, but that is something that...
Well, sir, thank you so much for joining us.